Let's go!
Let's go, man! This chapter was insane, dude! Oh my god, we got all the S-rank heroes joining again to take on Psychorochi. We got fusion between Genos and Drive Knight. We got Tornado doing some like Spear of Destiny, like insane shit. And we got God himself and the Black Cube. So, oh, Murata, I don't know what we would do without you. This was by far the best One Punch Man chapter ever. Atomic Samurai. Yo, Atomic Samurai bursts out there. Oh my god, dude. I don't think I've ever been so pumped up reading a manga. We got so much to talk about. This chapter blew the lid off One Punch Man, and a lot of stuff is coming together, a lot of theories. God is revealed, and it looks exactly like C. Eminglap's version of God, which is crazy. So a fan-made manga. I don't know if Murata must have saw it, and maybe he's adapting it. I don't know. We'll get to that. That's at the end of the chapter. And I got so many videos to talk about just based on this chapter alone, but let's do the review and talk about some of these things right now. So good. All right, pay very careful attention to the opening, the cover page. You see One Punch Man, Flashy Flash, and this little monster that's been following them around, and they're staring through a hole, and translation says, what is this thing that's peeping at us? This is going to be very, very, very important for later on in the chapter. Obviously, it's God peeping back at them. So Saitama versus God may be coming way sooner than we expected. We saw at the end of the last chapter, Genos and Drive Knight were combining attacks to try and blow up Psychorochi. They jumped up, they kind of like latched onto each other, onto her ship, and charged up a laser beam to shoot back at her. And now you can see her like overflowing with all of this energy that they're like pumping her with, trying to just destroy her, you know, on contact explode her. You can see her like stomach trying, like protruding as, you know, she's filling up with the energy that they're blasting her with. But out of her back, this like mouth with all these teeth, like this Orochi mouth, opens up and shoots a blast back at them. So we've seen Psychorochi be able to transform into whatever he and she wants at any time, at any moment. Very manipulatable body, very similar to Drive Knight. You know, like in the last chapter, it was like transforming into a dog, back into a fighter jet, full-on transformer, but also full-on monster. And so with that like back beam mouth thing that it shot back, it blows away Genos and Drive Knight, and they start falling towards the ground. Meanwhile, Psychorochi fighter jet is like shooting a beam, I guess, at Tatsumaki. I think that's who she's aiming for. She's shooting up towards like the top of the tower of the Monster Association. And as that beam is flying towards it, a rock comes out of nowhere. It stops the blast. And there we see Tanktop Master and Fubuki. Awesome image right there. Awesome image of both Fubuki and Tanktop Master. Murata's art it's just every chapter, dude. It just gets better, and it's mind-blowing. But this is just the beginning, man. I'm telling you, just wait. All right, so Tanktop Master just starts throwing these massive boulders. We saw him do that. I think it was like an episode at the beginning, episode 12 of season 1, when he was chucking like buildings or giant rocks at Boros' spaceship. So that's pretty normal of him. And he's saying these things are easy to throw. That ability is making my tank top more comfortable. I think what's going on there is he thinks that Blizzard is like powering him up, but she's like, I didn't even do anything. So whatever the heck, who cares? So as Genos and Drive Knight are falling down towards the ground, Drive Knight says, I request cooperation. I have very little energy remaining. I intend to combine through coalescence our energy cores to maximize our power output. Dude, this was so unexpected and so cool. So he says it's a gamble whether or not it'll work, but are you game? And Genos says, let's do it. His eyes like light up, and you see Drive Knight says Roger, and it seems like he's taken all of his little like pieces and parts from his tactical transformation that was shooting the laser at Orochi, and it's busted up into pieces now, but he's like commanding it like Iron Man, and it's forming on and around Genos. And he turns into a Gundam sort of thing. I mean, yeah, it's like some Genos Drive Knight mobile suit Gundam going on here with a big ass sword, and in order to block this massive attack, Psychorochi transforms again into this sort of like alien spacesuit looking mech of its own. Dude, look at this panel, man. Like Jesus, like the shading, the detail, the metal, the lightning, just everything about this just screams perfection. When I first saw this image, I was just, you saw me at the beginning of this video. Like that was me at like every page when I was reading this. Like every page Murata does is like a poster. It's just crazy, dude. Tactical combination promoted Rook. I don't know, I think for something as epic as that, it probably could have come up with a better name, but regardless, it's epic as hell, dude. So Genos is saying while they're like inside, or I guess this was right before they fused, he said, my core is already at its limit and it'll explode soon as soon as I give you the signal, defuse. And Orochi, Orochi is obviously getting like very, irritated. You pieces of junk, you flies. I'm getting a lot of flashbacks. It's almost like, and you'll see here again, it's kind of like Perfect Cell versus Gohan, and then all the Z fighters are trying to come in and shoot Perfect Cell in the back, and it's not really doing much, and he's kind of like shooting that like bat key out, to like blow him away. Kind of like similar vibes here to that. So this time, Tanktop Master, that ain't a rock he's throwing. He's throwing an entire like skyscraper at her, okay? But this is the coolest part. So this skyscraper's coming through. She pulls the little cell like wing, shoots energy out of her back in order to blow it up. And at first I was like, what exactly is going on here? Because you see the building itself start to slice up, and then you go to the next page, you see that inside the building was all of the S-rank heroes, and it slicing up was Atomic Samurai slicing up the building so they can burst out, and then he's doing like Atomic Slash, which is like thousands or millions of cuts or whatever. Genos smiling saying victory is ours, as the S-rank heroes burst out to do a combination attack and finish off Orochi. Okay, so it's just warming up too, dude. It's just warming up. Best chapter ever, dude. Absolutely love this panel here with Atomic Samurai, Prairie Prisoner, and Darkshine. He's gonna draw Darkshine so good, but they blast off towards Psychorochi. Tanktop Master just launched all of them. They broke out of the building and they're all charging in to do all of their best attacks and everything. Atomic Samurai uses Atomic Beeline Slash. It looks like Genos-Drive Knight Gundam also contributed, and they like kind of double slashed her, right? So they really messed her up. Super powerful move right there. And then Prairie Prisoner comes in with Vibration, Dark Angel Rush. I think we've seen him do that attack before. And he starts pummeling the living crap out of him. I'm just like, I love this. And I get ready for Darkshine, bro. Look at this, dude. Look at this. Just Murata is just like he draws Darkshine like he's a god, right? Like you see Prairie Prisoner there. You see Psychorochi kind of like her whole mobile suit's like shattering. There's like blood and metal pieces breaking apart. And then you see Darkshine in the back there, like rising up like he's a Titan from Attack on Titan or something. Just the scale. I mean, look how big he is. Like, he's not actually growing. This is just Murata just trying to, emphasize the strength of this character. Like, the artistic direction is just beautiful in this. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, this panel is crazy, and it gets even better than this. Look at this shot, man. Super alloy missile. Look at the blurs, the foreshortening, the muscles, the shading, just... What, dude? Just like what? Like this picture, another poster out of Murata. This shot is just, good God. Like I wonder how long it takes him to draw like in color, like one image like this. I'm just completely, my breath taken away. I'm so excited. So he comes in with this super alloy missile. Bam, hits her so hard that her whole suit is just completely messed up. Orochi's like splitting apart, coughing up blood everywhere. Psychos is coughing up blood. And they're in like complete, they're just completely destroyed and everything like that. So Psycho's saying this body is useless now, time to leave. And you see as it's falling down from the sky, somebody is jumping super fast towards it. And she actually breaks out of Orochi and defuses. So we knew this was going to come. I talked about this with Shonen, another One Punch Man YouTuber. He talks about a lot of other anime as well. That actually Murata was live streaming one time and he accidentally had his notes for the upcoming chapters, and he basically, on his notes, it said that Psychos and Orochi would defuse, and like the S-rank heroes would basically destroy him. So the little people, or the little person, or it was 2 guys, hopping around on the bottom like ninjas. It was actually Bang and Bomb. So Silverfang and his brother, and they're using Whirlwind, Water Streaming, Crossfang, Dragon Slayer Fist. So this is what I believe it's the same technique we saw them use against Elder Centipede, which was an amazing attack, and they just pummeled the living crap out of the helpless Orochi monster blob. And then it looks like they do like a double axle kick, knocking him straight into the ground, and you see Fubuki there saying, "We did it," but then a psychic tells in her head, "No, not yet." And that's when we're gonna see Tatsumaki, just such another poster out of Murata here. Love the way he draws her here with the moon in the background. It still has the indentation from where Boros hits Saitama into the moon. I mean, the attention to detail is absolutely unbelievable. She has those anime eyes when usually it's like when someone's psychic or like super evil, their face is black and there's like these circular eyes, So she's got that. She's going full power here. I guess she doesn't have to protect the S-rank heroes anymore. Fubuki's looking at her saying, "Big sis." And then we're going to move to Flashy Flash and Saitama, who are still deep down in the Monster Association. So like this whole time, they've been trying to get out. Now, something extremely interesting here. So basically, Flashy Flash is stuck in the rubble, right? And he's saying there's something very heavy stuck on top my arm. And when Saitama reaches in to grab and move it, huge revelation, it is the black box that Blast had in his hand in Tornado's flashback. So when Blast broke Tornado out, he had this black cube, and as I talked about in my last videos, that this is really an important key, that a connection between Blast, God, and the black cube all have some sort of connection. Saitama literally finds it, so for whatever reason, it's deep down in the Monster Association. Hopefully we're gonna get an explanation. I'm gonna do a really big video, probably 2 videos talking about this chapter this week, because there's just so much to break down. But basically, you're gonna see the black cube, Saitama throws it away, and it lands, and it's insanely heavy. So this thing, it's basically like Thor's hammer. Saitama's holding it like it's nothing, but he drops it, and this thing weighs 100 tons or something like that. So Flashy Flash's arm is still stuck in this rubble, and with his arm in there is his sword, insta-kill. And then we see Tatsumaki using her full power, and she's literally bringing out the entire Monster Association out from the ground up into the air. Now, we saw her bring it out from out of the ground in an earlier chapter, basically when she and Psychorochi began their big fight, when Psychorochi was a big monster and everything, but now she's actually ripping it out of the ground. And this thing is God, I don't know how deep. It's like miles deep. So she lifts it out of the ground. Crazy levels of detail here from Murata as he draws the landscapes, and this thing slowly rising up, and the crumbling rocks are coming down. Murata, as usual, the god, he's amazing at drawing large detailed landscapes and showing us the sense of scale for us viewers to really get a grasp of how epic this battle actually is. Tornado doing this sexy psychic pose, like the way her legs are crossed, and she's lifting up like this and just pulls out the entire Monster Association. I don't know if she twists it into a spear or it kind of is a giant spear already, but look at the detail on the landscapes. Again, this is absolutely nuts. As I zoom in on this picture, look at the little buildings and everything on the ground, the spiraling landscape that goes on, the perspective of the shot, how you can see the curvature of the earth. I mean, that image alone, God, how long would it take you to draw this, right? But the thing is, he's releasing these chapters every week or two. How this man is a literal god. How can you draw that fast and so good? We are blessed to have Murata in our age. We need to do everything at all costs to keep this man healthy and alive and going. So she lifts it out as a spear. Nobody can believe it. Nice shot of Fubuki right there. And now we go back to Saitama and Flashy Flash, who we see his sword is actually broke. Very funny face out of Flashy Flash there and Saitama. So basically, Tatsumaki just broke Flashy Flash's legendary sword by lifting it out. And you even get this little graphic, this diagram here, showing that in a tiny little piece of the Monster Association that was down deep was the missing piece of Flashy Flash's epic sword. Now, this is very interesting because, spoilers here for the one webcomic, this is very, very different. In the one webcomic, Saitama and Flashy Flash actually battle each other, and I think Saitama breaks his sword by accident, and he ends up getting him the swords of the ninja, the founding ninja. But anyways, this is different as Tornado is actually the one who broke the sword. So it appears that Murata is taking the manga in a very, very different direction. God is much more in detail and in depth here. Same with Blast. So there's a lot of changes going on in the One Punch Man manga that are very different than the one webcomic. It almost seems like he's taking pieces from the next arc and putting them in here, and even potentially arcs beyond that as we're seeing more Blast and God. And then we get this crazy shot of Tatsumaki lifting up all the way up into like the atmosphere, the Monster Association building, turning it into this giant glowing spear. And this, another poster out of Murata. Dude, look at this shot. I mean, look at this, dude. The Spear of Destiny. This thing is just absolutely gorgeous. I love this shot with the spiraling smoke or wind or whatever you want to call it surrounding this giant glowing spear emanating from the atmosphere. It's like this, it's just, oh my god. And I love the angle he has from the perspective of like the soldiers or the heroes on the bottom of the ground. Again, I can't give Murata enough praise. This shot is just so clean. It's got like glowing. There's so much going on, but it's so easy to digest. That's another thing that Murata is just a complete legend and a god at. Fubuki saying that it's a spear of light, and it's starting to glow green, and you see Orochi on there, helpless, just its head, just a giant like monster cell, and Tornado is going to launch this thing down to kill him. She says, "See ya," and that's the end of what we're going to see for the Orochi versus the S-rank heroes. He'll probably die in the next chapter. I don't think he's going to live anymore. That's probably it for him. Okay, so here's another big revelation, really big. It's super important, super game-changing revelation that happens here in this chapter. So first, Flashy Flash and Saitama are talking about, Flashy Flash's sword insta-kill. But as we move forward, the hole that they were crawling out of, so I guess they were deep in like some mining chasms. It wasn't like part of the actual Monster Association itself, but it was like deep underground wherever they were. And they were getting close to getting into the Monster Association and then, rising up to the top, but that part got lifted out. Now there's this hole they're peeking out of, and outside of the hole, you see God. Okay, so it's very obvious that this is God from the outside. It's got the kind of ripply texture that we've seen from the other images of God that they've provided. And you can see Saitama and Flashy Flash and Little Monster peering out of this tiny little hole, and it looks like outside into space. And there we see God himself. Okay, so this is the monster god. This is the one that grants all of the powers to people like Psychorochi granted power, Homeless Emperor, and we've seen some other references as well. But normally it's been viewed as like a planet. So we've talked about, is this Earth itself? Is the monster god Earth itself, basically retaliating for all the destruction up top and I guess granting power so the heroes and the monsters would wipe each other out, right? So that Earth would be saved. This looks very similar, almost identical to C. Eminglap's fan art for the god being. And I reviewed almost all of his chapters. I think he came out with a couple extras recently, so I do want to revisit those. But I have a feeling Murata must have seen it and liked the idea or something like that. Because look how massive, look how giant this thing is. You can see the tiny little hole, this super tiny little hole where Saitama and Flashy Flash are peering out of right there. And then out in like the galaxy is this gigantic being. Okay, so this is undoubtedly, in my mind, the monster god. A lot of people are saying that they think that the monster god is Blast confirmed. I don't think so, because people had powers way before Blast had that cube. So it doesn't really make sense at all to me. So I think that the cube is either the key to the dimension or whatever where this monster god is, or it's like a piece of him. I think, in my opinion, my theory is that Blast, he must have known about the god level threat being this. I mean, it's literally the epitome of God level threat, right? It is God. It's the monster God. I think he knew about that, and for some reason why he's gone for the last 2 years, maybe something to do with that cube. His idea was just to seal this thing off, or maybe he wanted the cube so that nobody could use it to bring this thing out into the earth. There is a possibility here that Saitama could fight this thing because the S rank, the monster cadres are coming, and they're going to fight the S rank heroes very, very, very soon, and within the next few chapters. So there's a long time to go, or maybe not too long, but quite a few chapters to go before Monster Garo comes out and Saitama ends up fighting him. In the whole time that the cadre are fighting the S rank heroes, it's very, very possible here that Saitama may be fighting the monster god. All right, so a lot to unpack here. I want to make a really big video breaking down the connection between the monster god, the black cube, and Blast. I think these are huge revelations that we have to talk about. This video's gone on long enough. I just wanted to show you my initial reactions and review. Obviously, my review is Murata is just completely legendary. I mean, you can never criticize the guy for anything. I mean, he's just keeps breaking the limits of artistic interpretation of manga and fantasy. The guy is amazing. His writing is good too. His writing's really good. Like, I love the deviations he's taking from the one webcomic. This stuff is so exciting, and I think we're gonna get just these absolutely unreal battles coming up. The cadre versus the S rank heroes is going to be absolutely crazy. And then we probably going to have Saitama versus the monster god. Like, this guy could very easily just like take his head up and look at Saitama right there and maybe somehow come out through that hole. I think the only reason they found that hole was because the cube, but they are also very deep down in Earth right now. So maybe it is Earth, but why is he out in space? I don't know. So many questions, so much excitement. Join me in the next video, guys, because there's a lot to really theorize on based on this chapter. Best chapter I've ever seen, I think, out of any manga. There's like 20 posters in this chapter alone. All right, guys, I'm just too excited for my own good. So I'll see you on the next one. Peace.